All right, good morning once again, and it's time for the newspaper review. Let's see what the headlines are saying this morning. I'll definitely be doing the discussions with my beautiful colleagues right here. But first up, let me take you through the headlines. And we will start with the Nation newspaper, like we always start with the Nation. And it says here, Professor Naktawe is the right man for the job. We've always had these conversations, but we'll talk more about it, and that's what the Nation is saying. The next one we will move to is the Leadership, and it has the same thing, but I'll just go straight to the top banner where it says 5 die in Adamawa flood. We get to talk about that later on, really a sad one. And then the top right says motorists raise alarm as FG abandons damaged Lagos Lotto Bridge. We get to talk about that on the show. And then we move to Nigerian News Direct. That's the next paper we're moving to. And it says, Kwankwaso not defecting to APC will contest 2027 presidency. NNPP chieftain insists. So we get to talk about that. We've seen a lot of controversy with Kwankwaso and his movement as well. We'll move to This Nigeria, where it says 21 trillion loan approval. Go softly on borrowing, experts tell National Assembly. We get to speak about borrowing as well. And then we'll move to the Abuja Inquirer, where it says 20 years after, Wike revisits sale of FG houses in Abuja. We get to talk about that later on. And then we move to the blueprints, and the blueprint says quite a sad story. Nigeria boat mishap. Now 26 rescued, 13 bodies recovered as search for others continue. Quite a sad one on the blueprint this morning. And then next we will move to the Platform Times, where it says Ridge Nigeria security architecture, ex-police boss tells Tinubu. What is just saying is that change the security architecture, and ex-police boss is telling Tinubu. We get to talk about that as the rising insecurity continues. So that's what the Platform Times is saying. And then we go to the Daily Trust, and here we'll be speaking about electricity, where it says electricity supply worsens despite high tariff. We've always been having these conversations on the show. How can we get more light even when people are ready to pay? And we'll move straight to the Daily Trust. Okay, we just did the Daily Trust. And then we'll move to The Guardian, where it says refineries, Ajokuta, still fail revival efforts despite 6.5 trillion spent in 10 years. Etoma will tell us a lot about that. And that's on the Guardian newspaper. And then we'll go to the Punch quickly. Let me get the Punch here. We'll go to the Punch quickly. And the Punch says, fuel wars brews as Dangote presses Tinubu to ban imports. So that's what the front page of the Punch is saying this morning. And then of course we'll end with the Sports and Life. Quite great news. The Super Falcons land in Abuja today. They're bringing their cup, and it's time for victory, and we get to celebrate that as well. But I'm not doing this alone. My able-bodied colleagues are here, and we're going to be having these discussions together. Good morning once again.
Yeah, good morning.
Are we ready for the discussions?
I think so.
Okay, so we'll start with the Nation. We've been having this conversation talking about Professor Naktawe. We spoke about it the other day. He's the acting chairman for APC, and we're hearing that he's the right man for the job. That's what the Nation is saying.
It sounds like what another politician said. Yes, he is the right man for the job. And he is actually a full-fledged APC chairman. He's not in an acting position.
Yeah.
Time will tell. Let's see how he puts the party together, number one. And number two, how he delivers more wins for the APC. Mr. President said it's 23 and counting. Let's see if that counting will work under his watch. And several other little things. APC so far is a party that has the internal mechanism to solve problems faster and amicably than every other party that we've seen right now.
Very true.
Let's see if he will improve on that. Somebody saying he's the right man for the job is because that person supports him being the chairman of the APC. But for action, time will tell.
And definitely, we cannot wait for him to start acting on ideologies that he has said. But Veronica, I'll come to you quickly here. You know, since he has taken position, there are a lot of people have a lot of expectations. You know, so far, what do you think? Do you think he'll be able to, you know, get to the things he said he would do? Because, you know, he spoke about ideology, he spoke about internal peace. So far, he's already started. You know, do you think he'll be able to meet the expectations of people? Because they're quite high.
Of course, everyone that takes up a position, they will expect that you should be able to fill up the shoes your predecessor left behind and even do better. And so the stakes are higher for you to deliver whatever it is you have come to do at the end of the day. We already see that the 2027 has started. The game towards 2027 election has begun in earnest. And so that is the major work he has to do. And he needs the support of everyone around him to ensure that he can deliver on all of that. He has made promises of getting more governors on board. He has made promises of uniting the party internally and also building trust. He has made promises of delivering on the promises of the APC when they came on board in 2023. And so he needs the governors to work hand in glove with him to ensure that people can feel the dividends of democracy, because even the president said that, you know, people are still facing harsh conditions. And so the governors need to do better. So he needs to liaise with state governors at ensuring that, so people can feel the impact of this administration. So it's a tall order. If you are doing something at the top level and the people at the grassroots are not feeling it, he needs a lot of work to do to ensure that people feel the impact of what he's doing. And he's saying he's going to the root, beyond the grass right now, to ensure he expanded the tentacles of the APC. We'll see. He has, of course, his template already on the ground for him. And so if he walks the talk, I believe he'll get the result.
Get the result. I hope he's listening to Veronica, a great ideologist there. But let me come to you quickly before we go to the news direct. Just quickly, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is wonderful for the very fact that we watched the PDP grapple for the longest time to give us a chairman. Who was the chairman? And I was seeing APC coming forward with lots of clarity and surety. This is our chairman. They know who's standing for them. I think my favorite thing about Professor is the fact that he's the INEC official who pioneered voting for people with disabilities. He's going to usher the APC into a new era, I believe. But this is very, very tactical by the APC because he has a lot of knowledge in terms of voting, right? In terms of how to put the mechanics of voting in place, working for INEC before. So I'm curious to see how that information is going to inform his
and that's the bone of contention again.
Absolutely. Exactly.
No matter the fact that he worked with INEC before and he being the chairman, there are those who are having concerns. But let's see how they are able to manage that.
We just have to keep our fingers crossed. And I love the fact that he's a humanitarian. For me, that's what he stands for. So you see that a lot of human angle things will come
and a lot of tech knowledge as well.
Exactly.
And the more that we try to digitize voting, the more we're going to sunshine. Absolutely.
All right, so we'll move on to the Nigerian news direct, and I'll come to you on this one, Etoma. He says, Kwankwaso not defecting to APC will contest 2027 presidency. NNPP chieftain insists. So we've seen the conversation that has been happening recently. Kwankwaso had come out to say that, you know, the president was favoring more of the South than the North, you know, which was something that a lot of people were speaking about. You know, people said, no, that's true. People said that's not true. But quickly, we're hearing that Kwankwaso is not defecting to APC.
Yes, at least that settles that matter. Nobody is going to come out again and say, Kwankwaso is going to run as vice president, Kwankwaso is going to do this, Kwankwaso is going to do that. And but a little piece of advice from me, that's not a politician to me, that is a politician. His NPP is such a regional party, and frankly, to win the presidency, you need a spread, not just a region. But he's still coming out making statements that will strengthen his base as a regional party. I think he should start thinking of building his NNPP into a more national party.
Interesting. We had a guest just last week who also paid credence to the fact that he's not moving from the NNPP as we spoke. But you see, we still have a long time to 2027, and anything can happen. If you see the Kwankwaso movement from the North, especially in Kano, he has a huge following and he has traction. But has that traction been able to go beyond that region to be able to get the spread that he needs to win the presidency? That is what he needs to work on. There are those who have said he can fill the shoes of the late former president President Muhammadu Buhari, will he be able to do that? What is his ideology? What does he stand on? Beyond having that massive following, what is your ideology that others can buy into if you are looking to win the presidency in 2027? But I'll leave that to him to work out at the end of the day.
Keep our fingers crossed to that. But let me, because of our time, let me take you to this Nigeria quickly. And it says 21 trillion loan approval. Go softly on borrowing, experts tell National Assembly. We've spoken about borrowing a lot. You know, is it good? Is it bad? At the end of the day, everybody owes. I don't know, but everybody owes. But it's not about borrowing. It's about the fact that can you pay back? So this is what this Nigerian is saying. 21 trillion loan approval. Go softly on borrowing, experts is telling National Assembly.
Yes, I've said this many times. Intrinsically, borrowing is not bad. The mechanics of funding in country, we need to borrow, right? That is how money moves around. However, blind borrowing is very dangerous. Blind borrowing without an active plan to pay back and service debt is where the problem lies.
That's actually the major issue, because what we do with these monies we borrow, do we focus on infrastructure, or what are we doing at the end of the day to ensure that we are not just borrowing for paying debts and all of that, but that we are able to ensure that we have a structure in place. Every country borrows, whether we look, whichever way we look at it, but it has to do with something that they will be able to, you know, get back this money, recoup them, and then pay back. But then we are struggling because we are import dependent as it is. We do not produce, and so it is taking a toll on us, and so we need to do better, perhaps also cut the cost of governance.
Exactly.
So
that it doesn't come to like a round circle. You borrow, you pay, you borrow, you pay. But because of our time, quickly, Etoma, let me take you to the Abuja Inquirer. And it says 20 years after, Wike revisits sale of FG houses in Abuja. So we know the story. You know, in 2005, we know that houses were sold, and those houses were supposed to be used for residential purposes. And at the end of the day, we're seeing these houses used for commercial. And then Wike is saying that that was not it. That was not the agreement.
Yes, if it is
an agreement.
Wike is big on that. It's big on agreement is agreement. However, you see, the Abuja master plan clearly says this part is for commercial purposes, this part is for residential. You know, it was all clearly planned out, and Wike is insisting that that should be what should be practiced, not because you own it, you can now convert it to a commercial place when the master plan doesn't say that. It is, I don't know how he does these things. Most of the things he puts his fingers to are the things that will generate a lot of discussion. But let's see how this goes. Let's just see how it goes.
And Veronica, let me come to you quickly. It's saying 21-day payment rule and a 2-year development rule. So when you get a land, you have 21 days to pay, and then you have 2 years to finish building. Now, people are talking, how many people can even build within 3 years? Now we're saying 2 years. But my problem is, you know, this agreement is agreement. Do you think it can work at this particular time? Because this is a long time when you, Veronica, why are you laughing? What's your take on this?
All that is playing in my head is agreement is agreement. Wike, as Minister of the FCT, is ensuring that the FCT master plan is followed to the latter at the end of the day. That is what he wants to achieve. You may not like him, but you see, Wike is walking the talk. And so if you don't fall in line, get out.
Okay.
And he doesn't care. But I just hope that he'll be able to reach an amicable solution to resolving this whole matter, because sometimes you do not have to go all tough, saying, oh, this is what it is. But have a conversation where these people tell you, okay, let us have a solution that benefits both you and I. But if he has had that conversation, I do not know. But according to the master plan, Wike wants to follow it to the latter. But I think that he should have a conversation with these people. 21 days is quite a short time.
Quite a short time, and agreement is agreement. But because of our time, let me come to you, Olamide, and this is the blueprint. It says Niger boat mishap, 26 rescued, 13 bodies recovered as search for others continue. So we see this is a disaster. This is really sad. And when I was reading about it, they said it was overloaded. You know, and you are still wondering in this time and age, how are these things happening? This is not the first time it has happened in that area.
How many more river tragedies and water transport tragedies do we need to see before we put proper protocol in place? Proper protocol. This is absolutely unacceptable in this day and age. But I will say this, and not to say that these people had any responsibility in the mishap that happened. However, I want to say this on national TV, swimming is a life skill. Should your boat or your transport fail you, I urge you, as old, however old you are, whatever your age or class, learn how to swim. So if you're ever put in a situation whereby you need to swim to save your life, you have basic skills. I think this is rudimentary, that people are still dying in boat mishaps.
Yeah, and I think what is lacking in that sector is monitoring and enforcement.
Absolutely.
You know, so I don't see why we should be having overloaded boats.
The standard passenger limits.
It's the enforcing standards. I think that is where the major problem lies, because we've had this conversation about both mishap in Niger State, where families, about 10 persons from one family passes on as a result of this matter. I think that the people responsible need to take responsibility to ensuring that they follow the standards. Life jackets are given to people. All of that are provided. The government has had a conversation where a number of persons died like this. I think that was last year or 2 years ago. And we had this conversation. They had a conversation with even Lagos State government to see how the Lagos State is doing it, such that people, the standards are enforced. But I do not know where that blueprint has gone to right now, if it is gathering dust somewhere, because we are seeing the lives of people lost, and it is not funny.
It's not. It's quite a sad one. I'll come to you on the Platform Times, and it's talking about security, and it says basically change Nigeria's security architecture. Ex-police boss is telling Tinubu, and we're seeing that bandits slaughtered 38 hostages in Zamfara after 50 million ransom payment. And we've spoken about this, the fact that people still pay ransom. At the end of the day, you kill the person. Like, where is your empathy at the end of the day? So now the ex-police boss is telling Tinubu that you need to change this security system, basically. And I agree with him 150%. In fact, I would advise Mr. President, let's declare a state of emergency in Nigerian security. So that the federal government can put its resources in taking care of security, 70% as against 30% for other things. It's getting really embarrassing. You know, they are killing people as if it's for free, and it's annoying. And the lives of people is what we're talking about, because at this point, the matter of state policing for me is what we should be focusing on right now. State governments being able to deploy security apparatus at any point they want, and I think that they should be championing this, because these things are happening around them, and they are supposed to be the chief security officers of their state. What are you doing? All right, quickly, because of our time, Olamide, let's talk about electricity, and this is on the Daily Trust, and we're saying electricity supply worsens despite high tariffs. Quickly, we'll just delve on this. Absolutely. You guys know, and you've laughed at me on this table for this. I do not pay electricity bills. I don't pay electricity bills, and I wish you guys all the best. No, but you cannot just say that until how do you get lights then? Her family takes care of it. Okay. It's not because she's running away from things. She does not understand the things that Bank is going through. I need to emphasize that. That's not fair. The things we are going through. But anyway, let me move to the Punch quickly. Our time is short. It says fuel war brews as Dangote presses Tinubu to ban imports. And a lot of people are saying that this is because Dangote just wants to be the main one. I don't know. A lot of people, it's not me that. Who doesn't want a monopoly? Yes, what's your take on that? For a businessman, if he can create a monopoly, it will be good for him. You know, so he will push for things like that. He's just doing what a businessman should do. But I think was that right for Nigerians? The market should be open. Think so. The market should be open to competitors. Yes. You decide where you want to buy. Monopoly will not help us at the end of the day from my perspective. Let's have other options. Yes. And when people always say he's a businessman, I say, yes, he's a great businessman, but what happens to Nigeria? You know, at the end of the day, it's not just about him and his business, it's about Nigeria as well. Because of our time, I'll bring you to the Sporting Life. We're still talking about our super ladies. Congratulations to you guys. You really made us proud. No, that Sporting Life is for everybody on the table. Because we're still celebrating. I'm still celebrating. The Super Falcons, they land in Abuja today. Olamide, how do you feel about this? I love our ladies. I love that so much, but like I said, I want to see policy and infrastructure in place that make sure that they go further than this. I don't just want us to celebrate it. I want us to put money into female sports funding. I want us to give our heroes and our champions the kind of lives they deserve here. Proper compensation for their work. It is not easy. Let's see their training conditions. Let's pay their coaches more. Veronica, quickly. I think I want to give kudos to their coach for ensuring that they won and how he ensured that their spirit was lifted. He talked about mental resilience and all of it. I think he should be honored as well. The spirit of patriotism we see has been revived, especially with how the government is going about celebrating them. Kudos to the government as well. I think that we need to encourage younger ones to come in so that the ones that want to retire can retire. I want to see the Super Falcons win the World Cup. Okay. And
ambitious. But
it's ambitious, but it's I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. And for me,
possible.
I'm very excited for them. And I think at this point, we should just celebrate them and give them all their accolades. And not just them as well. The coach played a pivotal role. I think if he wasn't strict with them, we wouldn't have gotten this victory. So as we celebrate them, we should also celebrate the coach. And also to say to young people, there's a lot of money in sports. Veronica, I could have told you to play football, but it's fine. It's already late. But yeah.
It's not late. Who says, I can't go back to, hey, you don't know my history. Okay. You do not know my history.
Or maybe a Toma.
Me, football.
Let's leave it there.
Come on.
All right. So that's what we have this morning on the newspaper review. But after a break, we will dive into an in-depth discussion on President Tinubu's decisive actions to tackle the power sector